Hey, welcome back. This is Off the Record, and we're chatting with Jacquie Pine. Maybe some of you were fortunate enough to hear a little bit of our prior conversation. But first and foremost, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for playing your music. How are you doing?
Good. It's good to be here. It's really awesome place. It's awesome to see other people in community that I've either played music with or know on the wall. So, in their photos, yeah, and to be around other musicians. So,
Yeah, that's super cool. I have so many questions to ask you because you were saying so many interesting things in between all of your songs. So I guess the first place I want to start, bike tour. Bike tour in Mexico? Can you tell me more about it?
yeah. And feel free to cut me off when you need to, because I can talk a long time about this trip.
Oh, I'm so excited to hear all about it.
So, almost 10 years ago, I rode my bike from Los Angeles, California to Central America with a group of other folks who are of raza or like Mexican or Central American descent. And the intention was for all of us to connect with our roots and also like kind of do like share what we know and take it down there and take what we learned back home. And so along that bike ride, we did a lot of community work. Worked with bike technology, permaculture, things like that. And so that was like the first time I went back to where some of my family's from on my dad's side and got to connect with the land there and the culture. And one of the things that I encountered there was the style of music. So I was riding my bike and came across 20 people who were playing this style of music. And it was pretty magical.
That sounds magical.
It's like, yeah. And so they were all singing and it kept going. Like the songs can be like 20 minutes long. And then there's two people that dance and it's called a tarima. It's like a tap dancing on a piece of wood on a board. And so the percussion for the style of music is on that.
It's like tap.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. So that was the first time I encountered that music, and that bike trip was also pretty political too. I did ceremony and dancing and praying for water. So, but yeah, one of the things that came out of that was encountering this style of music.
That's so cool. So I have even more follow-up questions now. And so you said you were going with other people with like the intent to connect and learn and grow in those ways.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess for starters, like, what do you think that, besides, like the style of music, but like in what other ways did you like grow through that trip?
I went on that trip very open. I think the first thing I think of is I definitely learned what biking is.
Yeah.
When you're on a bike for 8 hours, 10 hours, you get to really know like how your body feels on it. So it was like my vessel.
Right.
It opened my eyes up to like what was going on in the world outside of like where I was from, and seeing how everything's connected on a spiritual level, and also just like how the world affects all living beings. And it was the first time I saw like big corporations like polluting rivers.
Oh, and just like explicitly like that.
Yeah, just like big like runoff happening just like on a massive level. And so it really opened my eyes to like a lot that was going on politically, seeing, different types of communities, different types of like terrain. Just it opened my eyes up to a lot of things. And so that actually, I would say that trip also started my, it kind of opened my eyes to like how our environment is being treated and how our, our water and our air is and like all living beings. And so that opened me up to want to do environmental protection and like stewardship for the land. So
that's super cool. Mm-hmm. And you were also saying that like you and the people you were traveling with were also looking to, not only be like learning, but to also be giving. What do you think that you were giving on that trip?
That's a good question. I feel like I learned a lot more than I was able to give. I mean, I think people are really excited to meet people from other places. So, sharing like just like my experiences, or like, oh yeah, this is what we do back home. I think I gained a lot more from them than me but I think maybe just like food, different styles of food. A lot of people are really curious about America in general, and like, there's just like a disconnect sometimes with other places. So just like sharing what we're doing. That's all I can think of.
Very fair. Was there ever a day when you were biking where you're like, to be honest, let me hop off the bike, like I'm not doing it today?
Yeah, I think 1,000 miles in was the first time I was like, I'm going up this really big mountain. It's called Lagui. It was in Baja, California, and it was like 115 degrees, and I was like, why did I think this is a good idea? And then I reminded myself of like why I was doing it, what my intentions were. I had all these people around me who were supporting me and doing the same thing. And then before I knew it, I was like on the top of the mountain, and then it's all downhill from there.
Right,
so then you're just flying and just like feeling the breeze, like seeing the mountains, like all the butterflies are like flying past you. So yeah, just staying focused on what I was doing, kind of like going back into that intention. And then I was like, oh yeah, I'm chilling.
That's so cool. Who was like the coolest person that you met on the trip, or like one of the most memorable?
That's a good question. There's a lot of people that really inspired me, and people that I'm still connected to down there. There was one conversation I remember. One of the people who was doing danza and ceremony in Guadalajara, and I was in the car with them, and we were coming back from doing a run. So there's a run that happens every 4 years. It's called Peace and Dignity Run, and it represents when the eagle meets the condor from the north and the south. And so these tribes, they all run to Central America from North and South America and meet, and they do ceremony in different towns for water, and they run or walk.
Wow.
And so I was fortunate enough to be able to run with them. And I remember after that day, I was in the car, and someone had a hand drum, like a ceremonial drum, and I was like, oh, where did you buy that? And he was like, in my like broken Spanish, and he was like, oh, I made this. And so that was really memorable for me, because that was like my introduction to indigenous ceremony and being more connected to that way of life.
Mm-hmm.
And actually a few days ago, I helped with my partner lead a workshop and for some indigenous youth here, and they made their own hand drums. So
wow, that's so cool.
Yeah, so I think about back in that time when I learned and how important it is to share that, and
full circle moment.
And how silly I felt when I was like, where'd you buy it? Like this American kid,
yeah. Like bright-eyed, wow, so cool. Yeah. Just like, okay. In the car. That's so cool. So before you went on this big bike journey and made all of these connections, were you playing music here in the US?
I started playing music more as an adult, after that bike trip. So okay. I was in choir when I was a small elementary age kid, and played saxophone, and I was in drumline in high school for part of high school. So I've dabbled in music on and off for a while, and then I started playing almost 5 years ago. I started playing more. Yeah. So,
all right, and now you're here, and I'm playing all this music. Okay, and then, so you said that the style of music you're playing too, it's usually traditionally played with 15 to 20 people.
Up to.
Have you ever played with 15 to 20 people?
I've played with maybe 6, 7 people.
That's really cool. Yeah,
there's actually a band that I'm in. My friend Rebecca has taught me a lot. I've played with her, and then there's a group here that plays that where we kind of practice, or it's informal, but we play. And I've actually had the privilege to play with someone who's from Veracruz and do workshops. So I've never played with 15 people, but I play with 7 or 8.
You're working your way up.
Yeah.
Soon. Big things coming.
Yeah.
It's totally. 15 people playing all together.
Yeah.
Have you ever So have you ever played like the whole variety of instruments, or do you just generally play one size?
For this style
Yes, for this style.
of music, I played a primera, which is like a smaller version than the one I played.
Would that be the smallest out of all of them?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I've played. I've done the tarima, so like the tap dancing, and there's like a jaw, a donkey jaw that's percussive, and I've played that.
Is this like a bone jaw?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
Whoa, that's cool. Okay, that's super sick. And what has been the process of learning? Because it sounds like for a lot of these songs, it's like an element of them being like passed down. So how do you like find these songs and then learn them? What is that process like for you?
Yeah, so I actually, it took me a while to get to the point of being able to play the style and learn it. I received my first harana about 6 years ago, and I went back to visit some of the folks that I had met on that bike tour, and one of them gave me one. And then I like tried to play it, but I didn't really know like the actual style. And then when I moved here, I met a couple different people who knew how to play it, and so I learned from them and learned like the strumming patterns and the songs. And so they passed down the songbook with like a lot of the old lyrics.
That's really cool. Do you have a favorite story in that songbook?
Um, I'm like thinking of them all.
I know it's a hard question. There's so many.
Yeah, I think the first one I played is really fun. Yeah. And that one's more like lighthearted. They're all kind of different in their own ways.
That's really cool. And you also make music of your own, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that is not necessarily like lyrics getting passed down. Like you also are a songwriter as well.
Yeah. I'm kind of slow moving with it, just because I do a lot of other things, and I play with other people. I have written a couple songs in Son Jarocho style, and the first song that I wrote was like about the moon. It's like a love song to the moon, and there's a couple other Son Jarocho groups like they also have a song about the moon. So I do have some. Before I started playing more Son Jarocho, I was doing more of like a old timey style, like old timey kind of like folky style, because I've spent a lot of time in New Orleans playing. And I've been like shifting, like a lot of those songs are like they're old timey chords and like sounds, and then it's just like very political and or snarky lyrics. But lately I've been trying, especially with the pandemic, like focusing more on just like or refocusing more on like connecting like with my roots and being intentional about like the styles of music that I'm playing and like the things I'm putting my energy into. So
That's super cool. Real quick, New Orleans? What? How long were you there? What instruments were you playing when you were there? What was it like? How was the food? What was your favorite food you had? Like, what's going on?
yeah, New Orleans is a special place. It's definitely a very vibrant place. People there have survived a lot and are very resilient. So I've been very fortunate to be able to go down there. I spent a few months down there in like early 2017, and so I was just out busking like every day and playing with other bands. So I was singing and playing the washboard because
Oh, that's so cool.
I'm usually a percussionist and a drummer. So I was doing a lot of that and got to learn like different old timey styles and like play at like jazz clubs. And yeah, I have also a community that does like activism work and yeah, water protector work down there. So
That's so cool. And so then you've been up in the cities for the last couple of years, playing here, doing music here. How has the sound changed as you've like been in Minneapolis for you?
that's a good question. I've been a little bit out of the loop. I've been here for like a little more than 4.5 years. And during the pandemic, it was, you know, music scene wasn't the same.
Right. Out of the 4 years, like 2 of them are pandemic. And, yeah.
I guess I've seen, I'm like, what have I seen? I haven't gone to shows as much, so I'm like, I don't know if I'm like the right person who has a perspective on that, but it just seems like it's just a really good place for people to like try what they're dreaming of music wise and just like go for it. And there's just like a really receptive and like open community here, so it's like a good way for people to just get out there and like play what they want to play. And I feel like all the new bands that come up, or the bands have been here for a while, like they're all just like really good and like chill.
Yeah, try what they're dreaming of. I feel like that's a really good way to describe the local music scene here.
Yeah.
That's super cool. Do you think that Minneapolis and the Twin Cities and Minneapolis sound has also changed like you as an artist?
Definitely. I think that the people here inspired me to just like play on my own, because I was always like, oh, I'm the drummer, or like I'm doing backup, and my people are like, no, you should just do it, you know.
Yeah,
just play.
everyone's like,
yeah. So it's just like a really encouraging community here. So
that's super cool.
It's been really helpful for me to just like find my voice and take my time with what I want to do.
Right. Has that been like hard as somebody who's like always been playing like with others to kind of like no, I'm gonna do my own stuff.
Yes.
And a little bit difficult. What has been like, what is something that you have like grounded yourself within to do that?
I get really inspired by listening to other people's music, and like I'll listen to someone, like a friend, and I'll just be like, their music's so beautiful, and like, and they're just being their authentic self. So just like tapping into that and like reminding myself that like it's okay to just like share who you are. So I think the people around me and the people that play music in the community really inspire me.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Who are some people that you think our Radio K listeners should also know about?
I haven't seen everyone that's on your wall, but like Carlisle Evans Peck is definitely, who's already played here already, is someone who's very inspiring.
Yeah, big sweetheart.
Yeah, super amazing artist. I'm like, all right, I gotta think about Willa Waters. She's very like, I think she's a prolific jazz musician, and yeah, is just a really amazing person. Tuffy Red is someone who I've played music with, who I think is really inspiring and like fun, and super talented. And Lady Shook, which translates to Mayan Queen in Maya language, and she does a lot of indigenous storytelling, and I feel like that's really important work to do with or without music. So
yeah. I'm also really curious. So in this process of you both like writing your own songs, doing your own music, and also like reconnecting to some of like your own like ancestral heritage, have you also been in the process of doing like language learning yourself?
Yeah. Connecting back with culture and my roots has been, I want to say lifelong, but I guess adult long, like whatever word. So it's been I feel like it'll always be happening. Yeah, I recently took Nahuatl. So it's like the Aztec language. And so I've learned that. And it's, I think with Mexico, it's a little trickier because of like me not being on that land, and it's just kind of hard to find like exactly what dialect like your family spoke if I didn't grow up there.
Right.
So I have learned some of that language. The other native languages that I've learned, I don't put them in like songwriting. Yeah, but I know them in like ceremony songs. Yeah.
That's really cool. Okay. Yeah. That's really awesome.
Yeah.
And then I guess a little bit less music oriented, but still something I would love to know about is what are you looking forward to in the month of September? For the rest of September?
Just in general.
Yep. What's going on in Jacquie Pine world?
Well, I'm really grateful that y'all had me. I think it definitely inspires me to like keep playing music, even when I'm busy with other things.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm doing. I'm teaching middle schoolers, Indigenous middle schoolers, how to build a canoe, and we're building it as a group.
So cool.
So that's super exciting. And then just the change of seasons, like just getting ready to like get cozy. Leaves changing color soon.
Yeah, very excited. Like keeping an eye out on the trees every single day, like waiting for them to start shifting a little bit. I feel like it's gonna be really cool.
Yeah.
What are 3 things you love right now?
That I love?
Mm-hmm.
I love foraging my own food.
Ooh.
It's definitely a way that I feel connected to everything. I love music. It's like kind of a no-brainer. I'm like, what else?
Yeah, only 2 things in the world that you love right now, unfortunately.
Yeah, so many things. And like people. I mean, I love being around people.
I feel like that's a pretty solid 3. Are there any shows we should know about coming up? Any ways that we can follow along with what you're doing?
I don't have any shows lined up. Sometimes they do come up though. And when I do, I post them on my Instagram page. And it's Jacquie Pine Music. So you can find it there.
All right, noted. Putting that in the back pocket for later. Is there anything else, any dreams, wishes, thoughts, advice that you would want to share with our Radio K listeners?
I'd say just if you can, remember to give gratitude to all beings and remember where you came from and know that the ways that you create music or art is beautiful and important and relevant, and to keep doing it.
That was really good. That was really good. I'll be like listening back to this later and be like, yeah, noted. I need to remember that one. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you so much for sharing your music with us. This has been wonderful having you here. We're going to toss it back to the booth now. We're tossing it back to Eli. He's going to be playing more local music for part of this local music hour set. This was Jacquie Pine. You're listening to Radio K, Real College Radio. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Thanks for having me.